Yeah. Ready? Yes, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to you all to this beautiful and wonderful evening. I have been granted the privilege to be chairperson. My name is Brandon Frederick, Extension Officer of the Department of Agriculture. The Agriculture Department and myself would like to thank you, the audience. Thank you, the audience, for taking time out of your busy schedule to be present with us today, this evening, for a very important workshop about soil degradation. Soil degradation is the decline in soil condition caused by its improper use or poor management, usually for agricultural, industrial, or urban purposes. This evening, presenters will be Mr. Ronald King and Mr. Lindsay Archibald. Agriculture officers. With that being said, I would just like to call on Mr. Otley to give thanks and praise to the Most High.
This thing. Heavenly Father, we thank you tonight for the privilege that you have given to us that we can be here together. And we want to thank you tonight for the facilitator, Mr. King. I pray your presence would overshadow us as we come before you, and that whatsoever we learn tonight, that we would try and make good use of it, rather than just let it go. But we would do the very best. We want to thank you also for the rain that you have been giving us in recent time. And according to your promise, you promised to send the rain on the just and on the unjust. And for us, we can say that we are not all that just, but you have shown to us your mercies. And it's because of your grace we are here tonight. Again, I want you to bless the facilitator and help us, and we ask these mercies to be granted in Jesus' name. Amen.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Otley, for the prayer for God's blessing. Now I would like to invite Mr. Dwight Brown. Now I would like to invite Permanent Secretary, Mr. Huey Sargent.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to recognize the Director of Agriculture, Mr. Randy Elliott, Acting Chief Extension Officer, Mr. Dwight Brown, other agricultural officers here this evening, and most importantly, the farmers. The Ministry of Agriculture is quite happy to be able to support workshops like these. Anything that increases the knowledge for our farmers to ensure that we have continued productivity on the island of Nevis is something that we will be always happy to support. Our presenters here, I have much confidence in them. I think they represent more than 100 years of experience combined in terms of the field of agriculture. And once our goal of passing on or transferring the knowledge to our farmers, we should be able to be in a very good position here on the island of Nevis. We're in this COVID time, and I can't go without mentioning COVID. One of the things COVID taught us and is teaching us is about self-reliance and being able to produce our own food. And once we are able to produce our own food, we should be good. We will not be perfect, we will never be perfect, but we should be in a good position to ensure that our people continue to survive. I was only tasked with welcoming you here this evening, so I'll go no further. I'm going to welcome you, and I wish the workshop well, and I wish all of you well in farming. Thank you very much, and good evening.
Yes, just want to thank Mr. Huey for his brief remarks. Now I would like to invite Mr. Dwight Brown, Chief Extension Officer.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to adopt the protocol that was already established by the Permanent Secretary. I mean, it is indeed a pleasure for me to be here speaking on such an important factor in agriculture, soil degradation. I mean, simply, this is the decline in soil condition by us farmers in agriculture to improper management in agriculture. I mean, in both livestock and the crop section. I mean, for the livestock, we look at overgrazing. I mean, this is something that is terrible, terrible, terrible for us in the island of Nevis, due to the fact that, I mean, we could say land availability. But still, we are farmers. The agriculture department is now leading for us to be more semi-intensive and practice good management in terms of crop following, forage following, so the animals could be able to rotate, so you lend land to develop or to grow more, not go down to dirt. Hence, are very, very drastic factors that causes the soil to be damaged. Again, we look at deforestation. I mean, with the rise in industries and commercial venture, a lot of land is being plowed and cleared. And clearing the fact that, hoping that construction is going to be done in quick timing, and these land are left for years without anything being done to them. All these are factors that causes us to lose our soil. I won't stay here and do much because Mr. Ronald King, I mean, he's the lead presenter for this workshop, and he's a handful for us tonight. So I'll say, again, thank you guys for coming out tonight. I mean, there's a lot of food for thought here, and you guys are going to be left here with wealth of knowledge. Thank you very much.
Yes, just want to thank the Chief Extension Officer, Mr. Dwight Brown, for his brief remarks. So now I would like to invite Director of Agriculture, Mr. Randy Elliott.
Good evening, one and all. And again, let me adopt the protocol that was established before me. But I would also like to say good evening to those who are watching us live via our stream, whether you are our local farmers here in Nevis or St. Kitts or abroad. Just like to say good evening. This evening workshop, it is of no surprise to me as the Director of Agriculture, because the topic of the workshop this evening, as it relates to land management and soil degradation, it is one that is very important. And I would like to say thank you to our two presenters this evening, Mr. Ronald King and Mr. Lindsay Archibald. And I do believe both of them deserve a round of applause. We have always believed, and again, from where I sit, I stand very proud of the staff on the mic here. And we have always believed that the appropriate knowledge as it relates to training our farmers exists here on the island of Nevis, whether it's from our farmers or through our technical staff. And what COVID would have done, it would have brought out some of the zeal deep down within our officers here at the department, because this has just formed a string of workshops that we would have been hosting, and you, our farmers, have been benefiting from for quite some time. The topic this evening is one that is very important, and it comes a point where we need to take a stock of our soils, because through COVID, up to the present date, you would have been hearing every territory speaking of the sector of agriculture, may it be crops, livestock, or even fishing. But the soil now is more important than ever. And some of the practices that we have been doing are some of the practices that some are known to be doing. We have to take a stock and look at new ways how we can care our soils. How can we manage our soil to generate more from our soils? Currently, if you look at this sheet of paper, an acre of soil, this thin, represents 1 ton of soil. And leaving the soils bare, do you believe it takes anything for an acre of this to blow away? And it will never come back. It will not come back. Because the rate in which the soils are depleting is much faster than the soils are regenerating. And this evening workshop, I'm hoping that our farmers, our presenters, we're able to interact, we're able to make changes. As one would say, or your grandparents would say, you can't do the same thing over and over and expect a different result. Over the years, since the 1940s, the fertility of the soils basically has not improved. But the addition of fertilizers has increased significantly. And a lot of it, 10% of it is basically what is used by the plants, especially when you look at phosphorus and potassium. Majority of the others is leached, is blown away, is wasted. Even when we look at our nitrogen fertilizers, a lot of it is not used by the plants. Some of it leach within the soil. Some of it goes with the sun. Some of it just blow away with the soil also. And we need to start to look at new systems. We need to start to think differently as it relates to managing our soils, working with our soils, getting the best out of our soils. I'll give you something that I experienced on Friday. There's a plot that we have, and I've known that plot for over 20 years. And within the last 6 years, I can't recall seeing any earthworms or anything within that plot. And some of you who are farmers will probably realize that, hey, I'm not seeing earthworms in my soils. And we had some potatoes planted in the plot. And the soil, it was there. All the dry leaves stayed there. They dropped from the potato vines. They rotted. They were there. Moisture was added. The soil was well covered, not allowed to blow away. We add some manure to the soil. And on Friday, because it actually jumped out at me. On Friday, while assisting some of my staff digging sweet potatoes, I was amazed in terms of the amount of earthworms I'm seeing within the plot. And it brought joy to me because, and it's something that I said that I'll have to share at this workshop also. And for those of you who farm, look at your soils. Pay attention to your soils. See if you're seeing changes. See if you're seeing life within your soils. With those few words, I do wish everyone well. I do wish our online streamers, we hope that we are informative enough so you can learn as much as you can this evening through this workshop. And again, I'll say thanks to the two officers who would have stepped forward in terms of hosting this workshop. Thank you.
Yes, just want to thank the Director of Agriculture again for his brief remarks. Yes, because what he just said in a nutshell is basically the soil feeds us, so basically we have to feed back the soil. So, yeah. So now, the presenters of today is Mr. Ronald King and Lindsay Archibald.
Yes, good evening to everybody. Those who are listening, my name is Ronald King, along with my co-worker, Lindsay Archibald. Putting this workshop is very timely because last year I was fortunate to go to Morocco on a trip about soil management, water management, everything. I want to thank those who are listening on the via web, wherever you're at, once you're a farmer or backyard farmer itself. Management of the soil is very important because all of the soil is available for human when it comes to planting. Can remember, agriculture have one purpose, and it's for human sustenance, whether it's for medicine, fuel, clothes, fiber, whatever it is. Agriculture is just for one purpose, and most of the farming is done within the soil. And most of the soil that is available on planet Earth, 33% of that soil is degraded, and that is throughout the world itself, also the part of the Caribbean. So it's very important once you're farming, and you've got to take care of the soil and manage it properly and well. My partner here, Lindsay, we're going to work together and go through the slides, and we're going to make it interactive. We're not going to just present as we go along. You want to ask a question, you just stop us. We'll go ahead and get you all out of here as soon as possible. So wherever you're at, listening to our voice, our viewing, this is something you can take into practice wherever you're at, because this goes towards anywhere you're at. Once you keep into farming, more or less, animal husbandry, it's very important because we're going to see some of the factors. Most of you already know anyway, so we're just trying to refresh you guys' memories when it comes to soil or land management. That's basically what we say. So first thing I want to say, the farmers here, Nevis and St. Kitts, they do a very good job when it comes to the agriculture prospect of it, managing the soil. So first of all, those who are here, I just want you all to give yourself a round of applause, because that is very important. Because sometimes farmers get a lot of bashing, and really and truly farmers most of them do the right thing and want to do the right thing. Yes, sometimes they overuse pesticides and make up their own cocktail, which, I mean, that happen way imperfect. But at the same time, you can't leave out those that are doing the good part of it. So it's not just so we're not bashing anything. So I'm going to give my co-worker just to say a few words, and then we go straight into the workshop. And as I said, we're going to make it interactive. So if I call on you, don't be afraid, and we just have a little fun with it and learn as we go.
Okay, good night, everyone. I hope that at this workshop that you try to learn, and hopefully at the end you will leave here better informed. Consider this as a class, right? A class in university. Just consider yourself as a class in university. So when you leave here, you will learn a lot of information. Right? And now pass back the mic to Mr. King, and he will set the ball rolling.
All right. Basically, I could just even end the workshop because all the presenters before me, Dwight, the PS, the director, I mean, all of them had a mouthful to say, even the chairperson. So basically, the information that they're giving you all is basically the same information. Now, some of the information we're going to go over. So just to show you, most of you sitting here are listening, even doing some of the good practices. Then we're going to go through some of the bad practices, some of the do's and some of the don'ts. So this is not any information that is new to some of you. Are those who are going to get into farming who don't have no clue of what's going on, then they will have, you know what I mean, some of the basic to work with at the same time. So as we're going to start ahead and go, let's go up to this first slide. Okay. Soil and land degradation. We have two definitions. You have loss of productivity, loss of productive capacity of a soil, and then you have loss of soil fertility. What is soil fertility? The ability of a soil to support plant growth by facilitating adequate plant nutrients and suitable conditions for water uptake, root growth, and development. Okay, this is the workshop I was telling you about that I went to Morocco for at least 2.5 weeks training along with some other friends, Caribbean islands. It was Antigua, Jamaica didn't make it. I think Dominica had election at the same time. We have St. Vincent, Grenada, beautiful people. So this was a workshop, and this information here, this workshop that we did, any one of you here, are those who are listening, you can get all the information that we did at come to Agriculture Department, and you'll get in a bigger pen drive, and you'll get in a pen drive, check the director office, the secretary, and you'll get all the information when it comes to soil management. You'll get some GIS training, GPS, just a full intense 2 weeks training it was about. So you'll get all that information. All right, what you're looking at here is a map of some of the places throughout the world. You'll see North America, you'll see have the conditions below. You have like a key, you see the red, the mustard color, the blue, the green. So you'll see the red show very poor. The mustard color are the brown, if some of you call it, so usually say men is colorblind, so I want to make sure I'm calling the red colors. And the blue, you see fair, and as I said, the green is good. So in North America, all those, you see all those big areas, those are poor soil, poor condition. And you see Africa, where you see more of the areas in the Sahara area, and you see all the big green area, good soil. And you come around, you go Asia. So you show that how very vast the condition when it comes to how poor the soil is throughout the world. And the Caribbean is not even here as yet. So I'm not going to call any Caribbean names, you understand? But it's just to show you we are doing a very poor job. And the next thing about this, most of the available land on planet Earth, when it comes to farming, is in Africa. So I just want you guys to know that. Most of the availability of land to farm is in Africa. And as you see, good, and you see the amount of land that is marked right there. All right. The causes of soil or land degradation. Any one of you know what are some of the causes? As I said, this is something you all know about. I say, Mol, can I get one of the causes of what you think would cause poor soil fertility? You want to give me one of, you have any idea? Just one? Excuse me? Anybody else? Wait, the young lady said. Well, exactly. Too much of rain, as you see, have the other day, could cause a lot of leaching and move, your nutrients from one place to the next. So that is one. Anybody else? Molly, still ain't get the answer. You thinking? Eroding, well, different things can cause erosion, cutting down of trees and shrubs and hillsides. So that is one. Anyone else? Vibes? Poor zoning of crops. You want to expand on that for those who are listening?
Yes. The people, the farmers and country, they don't maximize the soil by using the appropriate crop for the appropriate type of soil.
Okay, all right. For those who are listening, one of our former chief extension officer, when he was saying poor zoning, he was just saying some people, depending on where you practice it, you're not growing the right type of crops in the type of soil that you have in. So that's what I just want to expand on that. Well, here we have a few points. We have industrial pollution with chemicals, waste. You got waste oil, grease. I remember growing up, when you're going to high school, if everybody know where the old power plant was, because the Prospect was right in town where the old administration building was. And when even if sometimes you crossing the street there, so you'll see some of the old oil going down in the bags. So those who from Navy are supposed to know what I'm talking about. Since he moved, the other day walked down through there to look and see if any damages is still been there, but they ain't find any oil or anything like that. So I figure over the years, some cleaning have been done, but I've been walking in the area behind where Best Buy is, and I ain't seen any oil or anything like that. But I remember in the early 90s, you will see a lot of damages inside there with the birds and stuff like that, and the lizards and stuff like that. So these are one of the things that can damage the soil and enter our waterways, because here in St. Kitts Nevis, most of our farming is close to the shoreline anyway, and the sea, and even our hotels. So all of those have a part to do when it comes to protecting our soil and our water, and in a sense like that. So you see, construction and infrastructure development, again, we all know, I like to make references, so at least you get a perfect picture of what I'm talking about. Cherry Garden, all those are farmlands, the same way before. You go over Brickhill area, Maddens, agricultural land encroach, and so there are less land for farming again, because human development are causing these things. So you can't live in the air. So this means we have to have land policies that is earmarked just for agriculture purposes. And this is how serious this is. Because the more human beings tend to populate very fast, they were like rabbits. But somehow we don't seem to, but somehow they're talking about the development rate, the growth rate in St. Kitts Nevis when it comes to getting babies, 1.7 now, 1.6 and a half, I don't know, then 1 point come up, not even 2%. We're way behind. So even though it looks like we're doing it slow, but at the same time, people want houses, so these are one of the causes of it. Overgrazing of animals is a major cause worldwide. This is the next thing again. Those who are into large ruminants, cows, as we call it, cattle, 1 cow per acre. So just imagine, and cattle, 1 cow per acre, a young lady that laugh, but it is real, 1 cow per acre, and a cow, as you call it when you're in animal husbandry, is an eating machine. They never stop through the cud. Whether they're sleeping or they're still a chew. Regurgitating over and over. That's all they do. Just build for eating. I'm a good friend there, Mull. He's a cowman. I was talking about how much cow they had growing up and the amount of money they're making it in the same animal business and stuff like that. The sheep, well, I'm just jump on the cow, but I'll just general reference. But even the small ruminants do a lot of damage same. I'm not just blaming the cows alone, but I'll just general reference where animals in itself cause a lot of bad, overgrazing because, and this is not for the animal to blame, this is the farmer's responsibility to make sure they have forage banks and rotate the animals, have adequate land, as you say, get in contact with the agriculture department if they don't know exactly how to set it up, because we have a team in extension the same way just for the animal husbandry to locate, show you how to develop these land when it comes to different forages, different type of grass, herbs and stuff like that, because it's very important, even if you have to set up some cut and carry to your animal, whatever it takes, because if you have an animal wandering, just eating, yes, but then you want water to drink. So then instead of putting on weight, you're really losing weight because you're going up and down the place and then have your friends back home. Is not adequate, and that is not a good practice when it comes to animal raising. And next thing I'm going to talk about when I was in Africa. It might sound funny or strange, but one of the policies that when they're going to move towards, just like we never believed the world could have shut down now, and now the world is shut down and everything is covered now, we was wondering what's going to happen now is a vaccine, so the hysteria is here. They're trying to move to force human being into being vegetarian. And this is a fact because I go back to where raising animals, especially in agriculture, cows take a lot of land. And as I told you, or the availability of land, 33% of the availability of land for farming, that fertile soil, is depleted. So you don't lose 33% already. So the little left back is not good enough. So those who love to eat meat and all this different fancy stuff, just saying, just remember 20 years down the road, 20 years is about the man really says of real and really happening. Even just when you're talking about tissue culture, where we propagate plants by the tissue, the leaves or the roots or the bark, is the same thing they're doing now. Some of the food you're eating, some of the meat is growing in the lab. I'm not making up this stuff. This is a reality of what I'm telling you. So it might sound strange. So these are because of the availability of land. So technology is moving in different ways of giving you food to eat in mystic ways that you don't see possible, but that's what it is. Then you have soil erosion, which we talk about with deforestation. As I said, those presenters come before me speak about. So we all know what is soil erosion. As I said, this workshop is nothing that most of you here who listening or watching don't know about. It's just to emphasize on it and encourage you guys to do more, because when we live here, it's very important to me. When I don't garden, I mean, my daughter is here, so I'm making up nothing. I told her the same way. When I live here, I need to know this earth is in a better place where I left it. So everything I'm doing is not for me. I mean, want nothing. It's for my daughter. That's my oldest daughter there, and the next two who is home. And this is how passionate I grew up in a farming sector where I know the importance of farming and making money. So once you all are here, I know you guys can make a lot of money. So ain't no doubt about it. It's just putting the right practices in place and network, which is very important. You have overplowing. This is the next serious thing again. Some farmers want, because of weeds and stuff like that, they want, every time they take out a crop, they want to plow the land. Plow, plow, plow. You really don't have to, because we don't really practice the good agriculture practice. Because when a plow leaves, say, Nazir farm, and then it going by Mull farm, we don't really have a deep system where the tractor drive through, or the tractor them have a pressure wash, the wash down. As I say, you all can stop me anytime, you know. Because I don't want to just start up here ramping, and you guys not just, I want you all to interact. Otherwise, I'm going to call on you guys, and we go like that. Okay, so what I was talking about, the plow move and go up, and it's going to carry pest. It's going to carry pathogens the same way. And plowing, every time you plow, it compact your soil and create a hard pan. You're damaging the soil. Okay, and if the land is not plowed properly, especially if the land is on a slope, and the tractor guy and the farm owner don't look and discuss the right way to plow that land, when the rain falls, you don't want the soil to move, because every time your soil moves, as the director said, or you lose an inch and become infertile, it takes 10 years for every infertile soil to get back fertile. Eh? So just imagine, this is hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years. And every time the tractor comes in the wind, your soil blow away. That soil blowing away, going and say, my land, well, I'm glad for that. Can make it some good soil. You see, but then you can get it back until, so that's the importance of the tractor. You create a hard pan, every time you come, you scrape, hard pan, the water percolate back up the top, you end up have issues. Yes, Small? Yes. Okay, I want to take the two questions one time. Okay. You say what? Every what? Okay. While we're doing this workshop, and I had planned to drag in I could answer the question, I'm going to drag in, I want to be the expert too. So I'm going to drag in Mr. James right now. In this, it was nothing planned. So I'm going to just drag him in because it's not about me, it's about us. It's an interacting thing. So he have a lot of knowledge when it comes to low tillage. But plowing a land, for me, if you plow your land once, you don't have to plow till you're dead again. That's how I see it. I have a minimum, you just have to till the soil one time, just for the type of farming you want to do. Because every time you bring in a plow, you're not doing the good practices, you're bringing in disease all or not. So you never had, say, whitehead broom, as we call it in navies, on your farm. Then you go by Lindsay farm, that end up on the tractor will come in your farm. Then you never had some of them tall grass, we call Guinea grass or elephant grass from Miss Huggins' yard. It come. So you're just rotating all these different type of strange material from place to place. Really don't make no sense. But most farmers, when I talk to them, what they want to see, a nice, fresh soil. And then they don't got to maybe use no herbicides to spray, or they don't have to use a weed whacker like my good friend Doe like to use his weed whacker. He don't want to call his name. So, Mr. James, you want to expand on this some more?
Yeah, definitely.
Come let those who view and see your face. I mean, even though you resign from us, I mean, you're still a dear friend, and I always like to share the wealth of information. So then we'll put you on the spot.
Yeah, thanks. You asked a very important question, how often should you plow? Well, let me start with my experience. The last time I plowed my land, it was about maybe 7 or 8 years ago. 7 or 8 years ago. Now, the question is, my yield are lower than anybody who plow every year? My yield is lower? No. And you have to, I could prove you that my yield is not lower because I do not plow. That's number one. The condition of my soil is poorer than the one that plow every year? Definitely no. The condition of my soil is a lot better. The organic matter is higher than other land. The number of activities, as the director was explaining earlier, the number of activity like earthworm is tremendous. You could see even the color of my soil is changing from light brown to dark black. And that's what you're looking for. Now, I remember I visited a farm years ago in Michigan. In Mexico. So they told us that they have a farm where they grow corn. The last time they plowed the corn, I was in Mexico 2015 or 16, I remember. The last time they plowed the land over there in that farm, this is a very development center. The last time they plowed the land, it was 27 years before the time I came there. 27 years the last time they put a tractor in that land. Fast forward, the next year I went to Michigan. And the last time they put a farmers association, third generation farmers, and the last time they put a tractor in the farm was 30 years ago. 30 years ago. Now, the condition of those farmers, they're very, very lucrative farms. They're very big size farm. For them was small because if they say the size farm was maybe 3,000, 5,000 acres. So they used to call themselves small farmers. But 30 years ago, when I visited that place, was the last time they put a tractor in the land. Now, that is just from the soil condition. Let's make some emphasis in the economical aspect of things. Remember, let's come to Nevis. We don't have enough tractors, right? Every year we're crying that we need more tractor. We buy some tractor, agriculture buys some tractor, and the new one breaks down. So sometimes you have people waiting for 5 months for land preparation, just for the economical point of view. Sometimes people waiting for 5 months waiting for land preparation. I remember people making noise because they have been 7.5 months waiting for land preparation. So during that time, you lose a lot of money. Because if you have 1 acre of land, you're supposed to have at least 2 crops per year. 2 crops per year you're supposed to have. If you're waiting for land preparation, that means you're at least going to lose at least 1 crop. That means you're going to have maybe 1 income instead of twice per year. So that's just from the economical point of view. In Nevis also, we have high wind, very, very high wind. Every time you put a tractor in your land and the wind hit the top of that soil, you will see just like dust. That is your soil flying away somewhere where you will never get it back. You will never get it back. And we say here earlier that we get maybe 10 years to recover a couple, maybe 1 inch of soil. But in our condition, I could guarantee that maybe more than that. More than that. And every time that you touch the soil with a tractor, you break the structure. The structure is very, very important of the soil. So you have what I call the texture, which is the element, and you have the structure on the way the element combine itself. So once you disturb the structure, you're disturbing everything. And once you're disturbing everything, you're killing most of the things in your soil. So I think that's enough for now. Later, if anything, I will continue to talk.
I much appreciated, Mr. James. So I didn't want you to say all of those. I wanted you all to hear it from somebody else. As I said, this is an interactive workshop. And as we continue, well said, Mr. James. Over-fertilizing, that's the next thing. I mean, yes? The pros, well, for some, one of the pros, if the soil is hard and you want to loosen it, but still, you don't have to do that, you know. But I don't have an issue if some people, depend on how the type of the soil type, if they want to just plow it one time, if they want to put in some sweet potatoes and stuff like that. If not, you're going to use something, a fork, so it's going to be much harder. I'll get a donkey back in the way days and pull it. That ain't going to work. If what? Yeah, well, the look good part of it, well, as I said, most farmers like to say, well, it look good, and they don't have the spray, so they have, you know, but after that, it's fine. If you plow one time, it don't make nice. And if you go back again, at least you don't have to bring in all the implements, even if you just scrape it. Because in Africa, the only places I really seeing beds is on the citrus farms. All those other places where they grow vegetables, is all the land just scrape at least no more than 10 inches or maybe 6, 8 inches. Very, very, very thin, and that's it. It's just the citrus farms that have some beds like 8 feet wide and 4 feet high. So when they plant, then they have a lot of root space for them to grow, and they have the water instead of properly and stuff like that. Sometimes they flood and send water through those big, you know what I mean, depending on where they're at. So over plowing, as I said, I don't have issues. It's all about doing things in moderation. So I don't bash farmers. It's just for us to do things in a safe way, at the same time to protect the environment. Yes? Well, banking, same thing, banking beds, all the time when I said doing beds it's the same thing. You don't want to do it over and over all the time because you really don't have to. Because once you don't loosen your soil, even if most people have flower gardens and they just plant a coat, it's the same thing as how big the flowers, isn't it? Same thing. Because most of the vegetables you grow are very shallow roots, and they're 6 weeks, 3 months crops, and then plant out again. So you don't need that. I just say it's just because it look good. That's why most farmers ask them, why you keep doing it, but it look good? I mean, after spray, I mean, after this. That's what it is, a look good thing. And then most of them prepare, and then again, when they realize, then I even maybe have the drip line ready to start planting their seedlings, then you just go up with grass. Then they still have to go back and force and spray with herbicides that they didn't want, trying to avoid in the beginning. So if you're going to do plow a land or prepare land, make sure you have everything readily at the same time, so you just move smoothly, so you don't have to plow a land and then go back and still spray other herbicides to get rid of herbs that wasn't there in the beginning. Somebody else saying something? Moderate? No, she was asking when it comes to moderate plowing, how often should you plow? Well, it goes back to the same question. For me, as I said, the gentleman just said some people haven't plowed the land in over 20 years. You really don't have to plow. I think we are just probably indoctrinated because you see a plow day and then you just cast in money all the time. You really don't have to. You really can kill all the good microbes, as the gentleman said. You know what I mean? Disturbing all the earthworms, you're rolling on them. You're changing up the structure of the soil. Because you can't change the texture of the soil, you know. But you can change the structure. Because you have a sandy soil, and by adding the organic material, then you end up and have a nice loamy soil. You understand? But the texture itself you can't change, but the structure you can always change. Inadequate crop rotation, then you see I have the BAP. I just say bad agricultural practices. that is just my thing, eh? Because that's basically what it is. Yes. 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 Okay, let me touch that. Really and truly, if you're going to farm a piece of land, wherever you're at, the right thing to do is always test the soil. Always test the soil and know what nutrients you're working with. Your organic matter, your pH, your EC. All these is very important to what is in your soil. Your nitrogen levels, your phosphorus levels, your micronutrients, all these can be tested for. But the problem is we don't just go blind and just plant, because the reality is, if you plant a tomato, you need to know how much nutrients it takes for that tomato to grow. Then when you test this soil, you know how much nutrients for all that is for the plant to grow. Once you have that idea there, then you just put in enough nutrients, so when the plant don't bear off, it drop back right where it's supposed to be, so it don't drop below, and it don't go above. You want this to stay right within the green zone. That's the reality how farming should be done. But we don't just go and add, as we call it, look at some deficiencies. So then we add in organic material, whereas the organic material could be high. Or you add in nitrogen, Right now it's raining a lot. You really don't need to add too much nitrogen to your plant because there's a lot of nitrogen right now. We're breathing in nitrogen in here now. And too much of nitrogen is bad for the plant. Yes. Yes. Well, that could be done. I mean, well, I come at any extension that you call somebody in the agriculture department, you come to testing the soil. It could be sent to Sinkers because we don't have. Well, he was saying a rapid test. Well, there are some little packages, but you can still get a little more adequate test, where a more breakdown stuff from the lab. Yeah, but in Sinkers, what we call that, the lab in Sinkers, what's the name? The multi-purpose lab? Bureau of Standards. You can get the test there, also by the Taiwan mission. Bureau of Standard, I don't think the charge is. But I can get in contact with my good friend who manages there, Mr. Laplace, and get the information. But the test for a few micronutrients, macronutrients, but not for everything. But at least you can get organic matter, your pH and your yeast and all. All these things is very important. As I said, everything is just arranged.
One of the things, right, in terms of fertilizer that I want people to consider. Imagine outside running up and you're thirsty, right? And somebody give you a big bucket of water, right? You really want all the water to touch your thirst? Yeah? But greed, you're going to come to drink it, but not the water there to waste. Correct? Yeah. It's the same thing like, for instance, you go and eat, and you're eating this big plate of food. Your body is not consuming all the nutrients within the food. That's the same thing with fertilizers. Like, if you see, you do a soil test, and for instance, you have this in the soil, you plant in this. It doesn't make any sense to add 10 times when you plant in. It doesn't make any sense because most of it is going to stay there, it's going to blow in the wind, it's going to leach to the soil, or going to escape this and will heat from the sun.
All right. So, as the director said, you realize most of you have not most of the information, you know. Here we go again, overuse of herbicides and pesticides. Then you have poor land preparation, as we were talking about, making sure if you prepare a piece of land, the landowner and the tractor man come together and see the best way of seeing of the slope of the land if it's not flat. In case you have heavy rain, that the soil don't move and go anywhere. And then you have slash and burn, which most of you know, we tend to burn our trash and stuff like that. Those have some positive and some negative. Because once you burn, you know what I mean, the ash itself is potash, which is good for the soil and stuff like that. But at the same time, you kill some earthworms and good microbes. So it's a give and take thing. So I don't encourage burning, because we're not back, way back, and just as we go, we just had no choice. We had no this and that to do, so we just cut down trees and just burn. No, I don't really encourage it. I would encourage you to use that material to make compost. Shred it if it's too big, as the department have shredders at the same into mulch, and use it back to make compost. Yes? Have a question?
Okay, we do backyard farming, right?
Yes.
However, some areas.
Those to the back want to hear, can you speak up a little bit? Your husband want to hear you speak up if you have a louder voice, you want to help?
Okay, we do backyard farming.
Yes.
However, certain areas in the yard, plants grow better than the others.
Of course. Yes.
Because, for instance, I have a cherry tree that my husband brought for me. For some reason, the tree doesn't want to grow.
A cherry tree, she said?
A cherry.
A cherry, a Bayesian cherry.
And for some reason, for so long, we planted and we grew fertilizer because we raise rabbits as well.
Yes.
We have rabbits, so I give them rabbit fertilizer.
Yes.
But it's like, it's not growing, but it's not dying either.
Of course.
And certain areas in the yard, other plants growing so nice. So,
Well, I mean, even if this space here, over there where you have the mannequin, could still have the old small, even different type of soil type. So that because it's one small bit. Of course. Yes.
Soil itself is not homogeneous. It's basically like, for instance, you look at this tabletop. You can soil test by
Right here.
the projector. You look at one result. The pH might be, you might have a pH of 5.5. Fine. You go over by the laptop, you end up with a pH of 14. Right?
Of course.
So, a lot of times that sometimes people will be like, oh, this crop not go good, this crop not go good there. Sometimes it's one area that it is, there's no pH because of the soil. Sometimes we have to look at the water. Next thing we have to always look at is the pH also of that particular area. Or once the pH is off, the plants will not have access to some of the nutrients. And a lot of times, a lot of soils around here, again, come back to fertilizer. People fertilize. And you over-fertilize, you change the pH of the soil, and then all the nutrients in the soil just lack up. So it's almost like in a house, without having food, but your mother, your father, your husband, and your wife just got everything locked up. But you're in the house with food.
That answer the question for you?
But if you need a little rapid test done, we could do a rapid test here in terms of looking at the nutrients and the pH.
Yes. All right. As I said, nothing you're probably doing wrong, but right now, a lot of rain falling, I can't say, is the water is the problem. But prior to that, before, I don't know how often your husband been watering the plants and all that. So it's a different factors. You know what I mean? When you say often, how often do you water? Let's work with that.
Okay, it's like we would water in the morning before the sun will come out, and then water in the evening after the sun.
Usually I'll tell people not to water in the evening because then you need some of the water moisture need to come out because you don't want to create fungus build up because we tend to overwater too much. Plus, when you're thirsty, the plant thirsty too, so if you're going through the day and you're sweating and the plant is sweat, it's the same thing. So you should always water the plants when the plants want water.
In case I go out to the yard and I realize I take this.
Yes, but you see, okay.
Watering in there, again, because people so different from watering in the hot sun. Watering in the hot sun, what it does, it may cool the plant, but the plant will not use the water. Because during the hot sun, what the plant does, close up everything. It close up the leaves, close up the roots, because it don't want to lose anything. So it just close up and kind of shut down some of this.
Of course. Okay, I like to say the 3 R's. Right place, right time, right amount. Just remember them. The plants, people, animals, we all are the same. Human beings just reason. You just don't, just when you tell you to drink 8 glasses of water, that includes some juices throughout the day, you just want to get hydrated. Always keep the soil moisture. I tend to say everything is arranged. Everything is arranged when it comes to farming. You don't want to be perfect. Once you keep it in the green zone, you don't want it in the red or in the yellow. You want to keep it in the green zone. You keep the soil moisture between, don't want it to go below 30, and you don't want it to go above 70, you keep between. So I'd like to keep it arranged 50-50. So you don't want to underwater, and you don't want to overwater. So you just keep it in the range there. So I tend to tell people keep the soil moisture 50-50 at all time. So those who interact with me see what I tell them that, so which means the soil, the plant itself, never get a chance to stress. Because every time the plant stress, you're setting it back. So that is the important thing that people work with. And always use your index finger as a tester. Ain't nothing that you can invent. NASA better than the index finger. Because once you put your index finger, you will feel it. The more and once you hold the soil particle and the soil stick together, you know the moisture content is good. We don't have to see the soil flooded where all the water just gets sap. No, because then all the air particles are filled and then you're going to stress the plant because the plant can't breathe itself, can need oxygen. You just want to keep it 50-50 within a range and you'll be good to go. So that's what I tend to ask people, how often, because watering tend to be the most important part. What is the most important nutrients, but it's mostly overlooked. So is water to be mostly the main issue when it comes to watering. My good friend Ms. Huggins, I call your name. You call me all the time, thank you. How often you water? You're all right. All right. Okay, here, these are some of the stuff we basically went through before that was talking about sustaining productivity of the soil resource. I talk about soil analysis. You understand? Testing the soil to see what is inside there before you plant. Basically, being the unavailability of fertilizer recommendation for crops and cropping system is just like you're growing certain type of crops, cabbage and stuff like that, where they're going to use organic material. You still can get a test to know the amount, levels of nitrogen is inside there, and your secondary nutrients and your tertiary nutrients. All that could be tested so you know exactly what you're doing. Instead of growing in lettuce and then growing tomatoes, you're not using the same nutrients across the board. That is an issue. We don't have different ratios of fertilizer to plant crops as they go through the stages. You, Kelva? Well, the plant is going to survival mode, you know. When a plant has stress, it's just like if you just been up out in the sun all day. Yes. When it comes to shutting down,
it is not recommended either to spray it in the sun. One, the chemical become a little more volatile when you heat the sun. You get more vapor taking place. So even though you're on the protection, the opportunities of the vapor from the pesticide comes on coming through whatever little areas through the soil is possible. As it relates to the plant again, because as we to the plant, the same thing, shut off from it. Again, when you spray the heat in the sun, you don't really catch insects either that you want to spray. Because if you go to the garden early in the morning, you might see a worm, you might see a little caterpillar, you might see a people come up with leaf and all the things. But when the sun starts to come up, you see them start to find themselves going down to hide. So it is not recommended that if you're using pesticide also to put it in the sun. And as Mark said, everything is done within the hours?
of course, 3 hours. Right place, right time, right amount. That's all it is. It means you'd never let the plant dry, let the moisture of the soil dry right out to stress the plant. You never want a plant to stress. Not good. Continue to go down in other inappropriate production of management systems. You have lack of assessment of land capability, nutrients mining, and degradation of soil and water resources. All right. Importance of soil fertility. You have the biological, you have soil organism. And when you're talking about soil organism, you all know what we're talking about. Any one of you? A soil organism? Any one of you? Worms, of course. As I said, you all know these things, you know, because you all are farmers. And as the first thing I do is tell you all, put your hands together and clap you all self, because you all know the material. I'm just emphasizing this material to you guys, you know, so you guys continue the good works that you guys been doing. That's all this workshop is about, because it's important to let you know you're doing the right thing and not assuming that we know. You understand? So that's why I want to engage you guys. Soil organisms contribute to the nutritional requirements of plants and maintain chemical and physical state of the soil. Earthworms aerate soil and turn dead leaves into easily digested organic matter. As the director said earlier, there was some land at the department at Prospect he never produced properly, and then he left, so the organic material break back down, and then he said how much earthworm he saw, right? Same thing, very important. Chemical, if soil is too acidic, as he talk about, or too alkaline, as I say, everything is arranged. You don't want your pH to drop and go above 7.3. Everything between there, when we pick again, I try to pick between 6.5 and 6.8. It's just the range. All nutrients is uptake between 5.3 and 7.3. That's very important. If the nutrients drop below, if you go too acidic, if you go too high, to alkaline, you don't get certain type of nutrients. You want your plant to get all nutrients, all primary, secondary, and tertiary, because the plant need them throughout the whole growth of the state, from seedlings to harvesting. So when you see some people, you're saying something?
Just one other thing here, and that comes back again to the church, and it's very important for you to know your soil. Very important for you to know the soil, because farmer A might look at farmer B and see farmer B planting a particular crop. I say, hey, that crop looking all rosy and dandy, right? So farmer B is probably planting tomato, looking all rosy and dandy. But tomato, farmer B, soil pH is this. So the crop that he's growing, or she's growing, grows best in this range. Your soil will make a different range. And you will say, okay, I want to plant that crop. And you realize, when farmer B is getting 10-15 pounds, and the tree is coming 3-4 feet tall, yours is just maybe 1.5 feet or getting 2-3 pounds. And you wonder, hey, what are you doing wrong? And you go to the farmer and you say, when nutrients are used, what variety you use, and you try to do the same thing, but it is just not working for you. Again, it comes back to the chemistry of your soil. So it is very important as farmers to know your individual soils and also to know the individual plots. If you farm it long enough, you should be able to know, okay, that soil now they have a tendency of a low pH. These are the crops that can be served best within these soils. This side of the soil, this pH is different. These are the major crops that can be served best. Or again, you could change the soil a bit by adding a lot of organic matter.
Yes, I just want to say, as I told before, as we're planting, it's best to always test the soil, but we don't do that. But if you're unsure of your soil and you want it to be tested, you have extension officer working in the department. Your job is to harass them, harass us. Wherever you at listen to my voice within Antigua, still knows your job is to harass the extension officers. That's our job, to work with you to make you save money. That's just the reality about it. So some of these facilities might test where they have to test the soil, and some might not. If some of you in your country might have the facilities, others may not, but they have different institutions where you can go, but wait for free or whatever it is. But it's important to know how, your soil type and the pH and all this. Then you have the physical, you have fertile soil, allow water and nutrients to pass through. Low mixed with sand and clay. Depth of 1 meter prefer. Then you have a dead pan creates water logging. As I'm talking about, bringing in the plow, overplowing, create a dead pan. And this way you're going to create water logging. Then you have no rooms for root to spread. All right. Here you have the importance of soil fertility. You have soil texture, the porosity, water holding capacity, nutrients retention and supply, drainage, nutrients leaching. Importance of soil fertility, things that affect the soil fertility. You have chemical soil fertility, content of nutrients, different degrees of availability, soil pH, an indicator and regulator of chemical process, storage capacity for soluble nutrients from soil and fertilizers, and contents of detrimental or toxic substances, either natural from salts in saline soil, aluminum in extreme acidic soils, or man-made pollution. All these, as we speak about, can change your soil. The pH, everything can change your soil. All right, and right here, as you see what you see around here, ain't nothing better than this. Whether it's green, dry, nothing better than your organic material. Very, very important. It's like once you go up, every farm is supposed to have a compost heap. It's very important. Once you grow a crop, the crop should be taken, once it's free of pests and stuff like that, it should be taken to an area, you break it down smaller, put it in an area, add some manure, which most of us are supposed to know how to make compost. Compost just needs 3 things. You need a green or dry organic material. You need some nitrogen, which some people have access to manure, some might not have access to manure, might have to use a fertilizer with urea or something, and then you need just water, and that's it. Then you have the active or the passive. You can turn it, or you could just leave it there till it breaks down. It's always better when you have it active, so it'll break down much faster, and then have it readily available, and then you put it back to your plant. All right. I'm going to let I talk enough for now and give my partner Lindsay to come over and continue. We're just working together. But you guys been very lively and much appreciated, and continue to be lively and engage us as we go along. The quicker we're done with this, quicker we get you guys home to your family. Lindsay.
Okay, no. Okay, I see we have started on a good stretch. You all have a lot of information. You all have absorbed a lot of information. And we have the fact checkers. You have a lot of people here with knowledge of resources. We call them the resource team, So we call on them to tell us anything. If you're not concerned, if you're not clear about anything, you could always ask them a question. Now, the history of fertilizer use. I'm not blocking anybody. Am I blocking anybody? No? Okay. So, long time ago, manure was the main form of fertilizer. Right? That is before chemical fertilizers. The whole world was just using manure. That's the only thing that humans knew about. You have organic manure, composed of organic matter. Examples, seaweed, compost. You can use seaweed as fertilizer, do you? You just wash off the salts, and then you include it with other bush or dry grass. Inorganic fertilizer is composed of inorganic chemicals like limestone. Here we have now these German scientists, we had Haber and Bosch, use nitrogen from air and hydrogen from natural gas to form ammonia. These two scientists, we have a next slide in front of that, but these two scientists, right, around the Second World War, right, after the 1930s, you had the Industrial Revolution. Industrial Revolution is time when a lot of manufacturing and you know, like in England, the factories, a lot of factory work and so forth. So that in our Industrial Revolution, you had a population growth in the world. So because of the population explosion, the people found that the normal use of manure and fertilizer was inadequate. So these two scientists, Haber and Bosch, Fritz Haber and Carl Bosch, they invented this chemical system where they took nitrogen from the atmosphere. You know, the atmosphere having like 98% nitrogen. 98% nitrogen, and the rest is just oxygen and all the other small gases. So they created the process to take nitrogen from the atmosphere and convert it into nitrogen that the plants can use. That is where you get the chemical fertilizers coming from. Yeah, these are the two guys you're talking about, Fritz Haber and Carl Bosch. I don't think you could see the weed and these guys kind of fine, eh? Made it possible for the first time to produce synthetic fertilizers and produce sufficient food for the Earth's growing population after the Second World War. Without the Haber-Bosch process, we would only be able to produce around 2/3 the amount of food we eat today. This is a personal philosophy by Fritz Haber. He believed that as a chemist, it was his job to try to imitate nature in the form of nitrogen-fixing bacteria in his quest to help the farmer turn stones into bread. Nitrogen-fixing bacteria, that is the kind of mycorrhizae. If you did biology in school, you might have come across that term. Mycorrhizae is the same, it's a sort of bacteria that you would find in the roots of plants like legumes. So the pigeon pea, lucino, string bean. When you plant string bean and pigeon peas in the land, right, they build up the nitrogen content in the soil, so the soil becomes more fertile. Just on a side note, Travis, see about this slide. Just on a side note, this same chemist, Fritz Haber, this guy invented chlorine gas, the same gas in the First World War. They use the gas what they use to, when they want to gas up the troops and all of that. He did a lot of work in inventing that, and this guy, he was a Jew. So the same gas that he helped them to use when Hitler came up, they told him that he had to leave Germany because he thought he had it good with the Germans. He thought he and them was close and he was them was friend, but they told him that he had to leave Germany because Hitler was going to take him out because he was a Jew. So just a side note, you know. I mean, you could Google all of this. If you just get your smartphone and just punch it in, read up the history, and you sort out. It's like these. This is just a listing of the fertilizers. You have nitrogen fertilizers, ammonium nitrate, calcium nitrate. You have a superphosphate. That's where you get your phosphorus, the phosphorus from. Single superphosphate, triple superphosphate. Yeah, when you go to TDC and you buy fertilizer, you know, you see all these kind of things at the bags and so. That's just what you're talking about. Potassium. Then you have those fertilizers on the other side. Those are just like specific concentrated fertilizers, you know, NPK fertilizers. That's the main one where they combine nitrogen and the phosphorus and the potassium into one mixture. But when you do that, right, they also include the micronutrients. So you're getting nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and you're also getting some small nutrients like iron, magnesium, boron, calcium. Yes. Yeah.
I just want to expound on a little bit of, because when you think about, when you say nutrients, remember everything that you see there is on the periodic table. You can't make it. You can extract it and infuse it into salts. And I always say, as you add the fertilizer all the time, the salt is what changes the pH of the soil. That would hold it. So when you add water, it releases. So man can't make nitrogen, they can't make this, and they can extract it from plants and soils and stuff like that. And that's where you get. So I tend to, when you hear about nutrients, you tend to say, oh, them are chemicals. Pesticides and herbicides, those are chemicals. These are nutrients. I just want to differentiate the difference and let you know. These are stuff that are naturally, even though they are naturally, still could be bad for the soil and bad for human consumption at the same time if it's overused in the bad way. As you've seen the other day, which part in the world where by a pier, the fertilizer blew up. I think that was a video going around, was stored on a port or somewhere. Where was that? In Lebanon. That's nitrogen. Sometime when I was in Morocco, one of the young lady who was from Barbados was telling us, in Barbados, the fertilizers can tend to tell you directly the same way. I just stay far from them containers when they have fertilizer in the cars. They are very dangerous, they are bombs. So if they're not stored properly and you open up this door, to tell the guy, the storekeeper, be careful to open up the container, because one spark, the young lady tell me body parts flying on the building in Barbados over a year or 2 years ago. It's very dangerous, especially if it's not stored properly. So they need proper ventilation and not stored in container locked up with too much heat, because it's just a ticking time bomb. And this is what happened in Lebanon, boof. So in some places where, especially as farmers and are doing certain type of nitrogen, they're making sure you have the right paperwork, make sure you're not making bomb. So only certain people can add a large amount of nitrogen. Just want to say the importance of knowing this knowledge. So if you are doing, you have liquid nitrogen in the concentrate form as a farmer using for hydroponic system or whatever type of farming you do, they want to verify that you're doing the right thing, because they can't let this thing get into the wrong hands. Because you see what could happen. Because if you were telling you about these things, this is serious. You shake up urea in a bucket of water and you realize, boof, this is a very serious thing. I just want to expand a little bit on that.
Okay. Now this is just, this is guano mining in Peru. Guano they get from mainly seabirds, right? The seabirds, when they land on these islands outside of South America, the waste or the shit, you know, they pile up over time, and that's what they used to use mainly before chemical fertilizers became popular. Yeah, manual application, there was some discussion about that before, so you should realize that manual application to croplands, it could cause nitrogen and phosphorus loading. That's why excess of nitrogen and phosphorus runs off into the stream, like Mr. Elliott was speaking about. Like you apply too much nitrogen, so the plants don't really get to use it. And when you increase the fertilizer use at a certain point, right, the plant cannot really absorb anymore, so it just gets wasted. Okay, this is this is a slide showing how you could regenerate degraded soil. You have base soil, then you add some mulch. And when you add the mulch, you would have the mycorrhizae. Remember I mentioned that before? The bacteria, nitrogen fixing bacteria. They would help to fix the nitrogen in the soil, then photosynthesis, plants would go, then you get regenerated soil. Yeah, like Banky was telling you before, you got to know the state of your soil. Soil testing, rapid soil test kits, plant tissue, visual observation of nutrient deficiency symptoms. Like you watch the plant, right? And according to the leaf look, you could say, well, it's lacking in nitrogen, or it's lacking in phosphorus, or it's lacking in iron, calcium. So we got some more slides coming up. And I let Banky do the introduction into those slides coming up. This is We're going to be providing information, like I told you, that you could always Google everything here. So this document you could get if you go on the FAO website. This is just trying to promote the sustainable use of fertilizers. You know, reduce the negative impact of excess nutrients, minimize the negative effects and potential toxicity of contaminants. When you get fertilizers, when you manufacture fertilizers, you could get contaminants in them, like extra salt or calcium, things that would kind of damage the plant. And improvement of food safety, diets, nutritional quality, and human health. Now, this is an interesting topic. Which do you think is better? Chemical fertilizers or natural fertilizers? Natural fertilizers, things like compost. You can make your own compost. And chemical fertilizers is like nitrogen and potassium, NPK. So NPK versus compost. Which do you think is better? So when they say compost, everybody say compost. Yeah, okay. How many farmers in Nevis use NPK? So how come you using NPK and you say compost better? Okay, so that's an advantage of NPK, right? You get faster, quicker results. What we have on this slide, wait, Travis. What we have released nutrients at a slow rate. That is an advantage of compost, right? The nutrients is released at a slow rate, and it improves the soil structure. Whereas with chemical fertilizers, you could get the burning of plants if oversupplied. Like you could supply too much because you have NPK. You have a bag of NPK and you just take up a handful and you put it to the root of the plant, and it's too much, so the plant will get burned, right? Whereas if you apply compost, the compost will release the nutrients in a gradual, slow way, so it will be less damage to the plant, right? Need to supply regularly. That's with the compost, right? Let me say that there's a disadvantage of the compost. You need to apply it regularly. High cost and lack of independence, that is when you're using chemical fertilizers, because you have to go to a department store to buy it, and you cannot produce it yourself because it's a chemical process. You have to go to do it. Runoff into water sources cause buildup of algae. When you use a lot of fertilizers, like say nitrogen causes the plants to grow fast, right? So when you use a lot of nitrogen, and like Elliot was speaking about, the nitrogen runs off into water sources, and because it's nitrogen, it would get the plants to grow fast in the water. This is something that is commonly taught, and every time once you do biology in school, they always teach you this thing, eutrophication, where the nitrogen goes into the water sources and it causes the plants in the water to go fast, right? So when the plants going extra fast, they use up the oxygen. They use up the oxygen to go fast, and it results in a depletion of oxygen. So then they don't have any oxygen because the plants use up all the oxygen in the water because they're going too fast. So then everything ends up dying, right? So that's what they call eutrophication. It's a strange word, so it's kind of difficult to pronounce sometimes, you know. And then, next slide. Yeah, this is nature. So you have nitrogen, leaf growth and protein, seed grain, phosphorus, development of roots, flowers, seed, food, energy, potassium, strong stem growth, movement of water in the plants, promotion of flowering and fruiting, plant health. Those are the three main nutrients, NPK. understanding macro and micronutrients. Well, this is basically saying macronutrients the plants use most, so they must be in an available form. And Banky was telling you all about the pH. The pH is basically acidity, above 6.5, just slightly acidic. Next slide. Yeah, this is basically saying some of the same thing: nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, secondary nutrients, calcium, magnesium, micronutrients, zinc, iron, manganese. Okay. This slide is showing that micronutrients are required throughout the growth cycle. It's like plants have stages. You start going as a baby, and then you become mature, and then you become old. So when the plant is just starting out, it needs iron, zinc, and manganese. Then when it's a little older, it needs iron, zinc, manganese, copper, boron. Then when it's almost old, it needs iron, boron. And when it's old, it's copper, manganese, boron.
What the colors is showing here with the micronutrients, as I realize, through the germination stage and the establishment, these are the micronutrients it needs, and then through the vegetative growth, you have also the nutrients that it needs, and through the flowering and reproduction stage, you show the nutrients that it needs also, and also maturity, and with its fruiting, you show so you mean, as I was saying earlier, the plant needs all the nutrients to the growth, to the whole stage when it's growing it from seedling goes straight up to fruiting. All the nutrients, you just need them in different amounts.
Okay, the next series of slides will just be basically showing what each nutrient, I like to call them elements. I call them elements. So zinc. Zinc is an important role in wide range of process. Growth hormone reduction and internode elongation. Iron assists in nitrate and sulfate reduction. Energy production within the plant. This gives the plant energy to grow. Energy to photosynthesize. Energy to convert the sunlight from the sun into plant food, into food. Although iron is not used in the synthesis of chlorophyll, that's the green pigment you find in leaves, it is essential for its formation. Go. Manganese. This is responsible for various biological systems, including photosynthesis, respiration. That is when the plant gives off water. It gets heat and it absorbs the water and then gives out water. And nitrogen assimilation. Manganese is also involved in pollen germination, pollen tube growth, root cell elongation, and resistance to root pathogens. So resistance to diseases like fungus forming in the roots. Boron, creating new plant cells, used with calcium in cell wall synthesis, and is essential for cell division. It helps with pollination and fruit and seed development. Okay, so this is the table that Banky mentioned earlier. Don't know if you could bring it. You wouldn't, well, we can't get it any larger, right? So this is, you only see that if you do chemistry. Only if you do chemistry in school you see that, right? So if you don't do chemistry, you end up lacking knowledge and certain information. So I was speaking about manganese and magnesium and boron and calcium. These are the elements that are in the air, they are in our bodies. These elements are in the soil. These elements are all around us. The water that you drink has in calcium, magnesium, iron, boron, everything. Everything is in the water. I mean, COVID and all is in the water. COVID-19 is in the water. That's why they test COVID-19, they test down in where it was, down in, which country it was? Tanzania. They test Tanzania, they test some chicken and whatever, and they say they find COVID. But honestly, it's all kinds of virus, so it must be all over. So, wait, I'm gonna say something about the chemical. Each element, right, in the table, that is, you have iron, calcium, magnesium, zinc. All of these here is just like, it's natural elements. Only that some of them, right, is like calcium could be poisonous for you in large amounts. You could, if we use too much of it, right, it could be dangerous to health. Okay.
I just wanted to expand on when you say the water source, even though the water comes from the pipe, it's still rainwater. We call it pipe water, but it's just been treated. It's rainwater. I just wanted to speak on that behalf. We don't call it pumperman. They mark on a funny name, but it's really rainwater still. It's just been treated because it go into your home and the government have to make it safe. Even when you have water off your house, you don't have to treat it because when you send it out to the general public, you got to make sure it's safe and nobody get affected when it comes to pathogens and E. coli bacteria. A lot of animals still around the water source, monkey and goats and all this stuff. So they're going to make sure to treat the water so it's safe and nobody can end up and say, well, the government allowing bad water into their house. So that is one. I just wanted to explain and say the water is still groundwater.
Before the next slide, me something. Before the next slide, me something. Okay, come back. Okay, I'll just let Banky continue describing a few more of the slides, right? Why should we identify the problem in plants before we treat it?
Okay, here is we're identifying some problem. Also, for those who viewing any of you here who miss anything, you can always go back on the Ministry of Agriculture Facebook website and just watch this whole thing over and over. And remember, you can come to the Agriculture Department with a pen drive and get the whole workshop I did in Morocco. It's available to the general public or wherever you are, just send and you can get the information same way and go over it. Different training session bit by bit. Okay, problem identification. Why should you conduct problem identification? As I said, it's always best to test the soil so you know what you're working with than to just cast your money and wasting your fertilizer. Very important. To improve crop performances, fertilizer use, to reduce the use of pesticides, to prevent losses, sustainability and economics. Basically what we've been talking about from the beginning. So just ensuring you all again. All right, nutrients deficiencies. A lack of nutrients content leading to deficiency symptom in the plant's growth. Plants can also suffer from deficiencies where the growing conditions are poor. Plants are unable to uptake nutrients present. Very acidic or alkaline condition. Nutrient deficiencies can cause symptoms such as leaves yellowing or browning, sometimes in distinctive patterns. This may be accompanied by stunted growth, or poor flowing or fruiting. As earlier, the young lady who was saying she had a cherry tree her husband bought for her a long time ago, and we're trying to see what's some of the problem. That could have been one of the problems. I can't see. But different things would cause stunted growth at the same time. Okay. Nitrogen deficiencies, symptom, spindly yellow plants or yellow leaves, sometimes with pink tints. Nitrogen and sulfur have very close similarity when it comes to deficiency and other nutrients. So something you'll have to know how you're looking for the pattern of the, and as you go along, you'll see some leaves and stuff like that. Causes, nitrogen promotes green, leafy growth, and deficiencies results in yellowing and stunted growth. Nitrogen is very soluble, so is easily washed. Remedies provide nitrogen to stabilize levels in the short term, applying high nitrogen fertilizers, which could be in manure, rabbit, fowl manure, any one of those, and also modify irrigation cycles. These are some of the deficiency, how when you look to see how nitrogen looks, as you realize the leaf patterns and the veins and how it looks. potassium deficiency. These are, we just running through some of the deficiencies of how it looks and the importance of the purpose of potassium, all these other nutrients that we're talking about. So potassium deficiency, yellow or purple leaf tints with browning at the leaf edge and poor flowering or fruiting. The purpose potassium is needed for controlling both water uptake and photosynthesis. The causes, shortage are more likely where potassium is easily washed away. Cation exchange, these are more chemistry again, cation and iron and all those stuff. Then you have remedy, apply high potassium fertilizer and modify irrigation cycle. Also, as I said, ash is also potash. When you have the wow and all the different things and so forth, they use ash as fungicides and all kind of different stuff, which our ancestors have been using for generations before. So these are nothing new. But as I said, when you slash and burn, burning still kills some of the soil, of the good microbes and organisms and stuff like that. And which one? No, cat iron. We're just talking about the chemical of negative and positive and stuff like that. That's basically what we're talking about in the soil. I try not to make it too complicated. You understand? But as I said, all this stuff is on the slide that the workshop that I went in Morocco. So it's very important if you want to get a lot of information of water management, soil fertility, everything. Okay, it was like for 2 weeks, every day is a different workshop every day. And it's different professors, different lecturers. So you'll get all, so it's for you all if you all want to take. It's there, you come at the department, come at the director office, and the secretary will take it off the pen drive and give it to you guys. Well, it's plant CM2. So you see potassium deficiency. Anyone of you know this plant? I know tomato, bell peppers. Which plant? Can anyone of you guess this plant? Gonna get have a gift, eh? I'm gonna give you a gift tonight, so I want you to get involved. So any of you who know this plant, gonna come up and tell me what it is in my ear or whatever, and then you all get a gift. Give me a gift there. Give me a gift. Let me go. Well, everybody answer the question at the same time. Mega Island gift this off. We go back again. Let me go. All right. Manganese deficiency. We're just going to run through these symptoms: yellow in between the leaf veins, sometimes with reddish brown tints, and early leaves fall. Then you have the purpose. Manganese is needed for healthy leaves and photosynthesis. Shortage or overuse of high potassium fertilizer, such as tomato feed, can cause manganese deficiencies as plants take up potassium in preference to manganese. The remedy, in short term, apply manganese as a foliar feed through drip system or irrigation, if you want to call it. Apply 2 or 3 times a fortnight, every 2 weeks or whatever, and intervals, or you can also spray it if you have a spray pan, if you don't have drip lines in foliage, or you can run it through the drip line either way. Also, remember, if you're doing organic farming the same way, it's also important to get these tested so you'll know exactly what material, elements is in your material. So you see manganese deficiency, as you see how the leaves look around the edges and stuff like that, the yellowing. Most deficiencies tend to have yellowing and brownish and all the same signs, right? So, but it's just that the variation is different, and the leaves, if you realize it. This is before? This is a different one or the same one? All right, manganese and iron deficiency. Symptoms: yellowing between the leaf veins and browning of the leaf edges. The purpose: manganese and iron are important for allowing plant to harness the energy of the sun for photosynthesis. Causes: alkaline conditions. Remedy: apply chelated iron and manganese treatments. As you see how a manganese deficiency, and you have some blemishes, some spots, brown spots on the leaves, look like cankers or sores. So as you see, but you still see some yellowing as you go along the veins of the plant throughout the leaves. Iron deficiencies, as you see again, yellowing as you go through the leaf veins and along the younger leaves. If you realize, the younger leaves are more affected than the more mature leaves. Boron, symptom: stunted growth and tip dieback on the lettuce, are brown cracks in celery. have a farmer here tend to grow celery and parsley and stuff like that. So certain things to look for, as you said, you know what I mean, stunted growth, and the tip, that, I mean, the dieback on the lettuce and the brown cracks in celery and stuff like that. The purpose brown is required for healthy plant cell formations. So you want to sell, especially like lettuce, if the cell walls and them is not rigid, you mean the lettuce is going to fall apart very easily and stuff like that. And the same thing with tomatoes, and as a lot of us tend to go to tomatoes and a lot of bell peppers. Those are very two of the most sensitive crops to grow. But yet farmers in St. Xavier love to grow it. That's why you see the time to come down with blossom annuals and all kind of different, because the cell wall are very sensitive. And then have remedy treatment with trace elements. Boron deficiencies, as you see how it look different with all kind of different brown and, as you speak about, yellowing and throughout the veins of the leaves. Identifying plant deficiencies, that just you see how the plants look there and the nitrogen and different stuff, phosphate, the same thing we just went through, just a picture to show how the plant leaves look. Elements that build our bodies needed in farming soil, the iron, manganese that we speak about, all these things. The iron help to build the blood, red kidney beans, chickpeas, red meat, spinach, manganese, blood pressure regulator, muscle and nerves function, whole grains, nuts, seeds, spinach. Calcium helps build bones, teeth, and muscles. Kale, okra, spinach, milk, sardine, bones. Milk, remember, it's a milk. It just contains calcium, but a lot of stuff contains calcium, a lot of plants. So if you need calcium, that doesn't mean you have to drink milk. You know, that is just a business adventure when you're promoting milk. But what you need is calcium, the nutrients, so the moringa, you understand, the spirit. All these, most of these having different amount, but having the same nutrient, but just in larger amounts. You have boron, good for building bones, the same way, similar to the calcium, the same. If you realize what I'm talking about. Muscle, mental skills, treating arthritis, kale, spinach, prunes, raisins, fruits and nuts, potassium, nerves and muscle condition, regulate heartbeat, lower blood pressure and from sodium. You have fruits like banana, oranges, cabbage, sweet potatoes, cucumbers, and cooked broccoli. And remember, most of your vegetables and stuff like that can be eaten raw. I just blanch it, but we just tend to overcook a lot of vegetables because every time you cook something, you lose your nutrients and stuff like that. So every time you eat your fruits and vegetables like that, you get 100% of the nutrients. Just wash it properly. Here, we're just talking about some pesticides, awareness and stuff like that. Farmer here spraying, everything about chemical drift and make sure you're not close to the water. Because I said, most of our farm is close to the shoreline. I can put up my hand and you see right now, me touch the seawater. Put up my hand, me touch the mountain. So you are basically, that's what I'm saying, we're that small. So wherever you spray here, you're going to end up right there in your school. So you got to know what you spray at the time of the day. Very important because most pests are going to come out early in the morning or late in the afternoon. So it makes sense to spray certain time when you were talking about earlier, midday and then kind of time. You basically, most of the pests already moved. So you're going to waste your chemicals at the same time if you're trying to control certain pests. So towards safe pesticide use, even properly used, well, I have a man here, but he ain't really dressed up yet. Even properly used pesticides can impact fisheries, migratory birds, millions of birds and fish die annually from pesticide exposure. Illicit and banned pesticides can ruin crops, contaminate water and soils, damage to wildlife and plants from incorrect application, wind drift, as I spoke about, and all this. Over 26 million cases of pesticides poisoned annually with 220,000 deaths. I mean, we don't hear about it like that because we figure, well, nobody here jumping down. But at the same time, I wouldn't want to know 20 years from now, any one of you in this room been using pesticides, herbicides incorrectly, and then you will come down with all kind of tumor. I mean, you'll be heartbreaking. Because I'm the kind of person, when I used to run Indian Castle, which is 30 acres, one thing I used to do with the workers and them, every Tuesday we'll keep safety meetings and they'll have to sign the safety sheet. Because once you come on the estate and you're there and you're doing what you're spraying, and whatever you're spraying, you don't have any safety gears. I give you 3 strikes. That's a lot of strike. I deal like LA lot. 3 strikes, that is enough for adults. So my thing is never to send home people when it comes to managing. That's always the last option, because you still need to fill that gap when the person is not working. But if you come on the farm and you don't have any proper gears when it comes to spraying, it's not an argument. They're going to send you home because you signed the safety sheet. So you know all the rules, can explain all the bads about it. So I'm going to do in your favor. So if you're doing it, which you're going to see as I go along. So, yeah. Pesticide clarification by hazard. This will show you extreme and highly hazardous and all these moderate and stuff like that. I tend to recommend stuff always in the green zone. I'm always thinking about the environment and health. And you all should think the same, because we all want to live on the island at the same time, and you don't know where your cousins or your sister are, whoever walking around and stuff like that. Here again, pesticide classification by hazard. As you see, red, yellow, green. I stay in the green zone. Anybody want to choose a zone they want to be in? Green. Which one? Green. Nobody want to be in the yellow? Anybody want to be in, who want to be in the yellow and the red? Have things to give away and have gifts. Anybody in the red and the yellow? All right. We're on the same page then, so which means we care about the environment. And as I said, anyone who watching this goes to wherever you live at the same way, because we all live on planet Earth. We all can live in this space. So all this have to do with all the Caribbean countries or wherever you are in the world. We got to protect the environment and use stuff that is safe, because we got to think about the bees and the birds and the dogs and the cats and everything within our environment we got to think about. All right. Towards safe pesticide use. All right. Well, as I said, this is my main man right here, but I have the goggles over there by Mr. James, which should be on. So you wear appropriate clothing. Do not eat or drink. Some people don't want to be eating and spraying, and then they don't even wash it, go back and then you put in the chemicals in your mouth. So that's why you talk about all these things. No other worker in the field. Also, which means nobody should be close by when you're spraying either, not just work in the field. You can't be spraying here and then somebody walking down the street right there and they drift. Do not spray against the wind or if it's strong, which means you all know what I'm talking about, right? You all understand what I'm talking about? If the place is windy, don't make any sense to be spraying, because you go and don't spray against going against the wind, because you bring back this pesticide on yourself, which is very bad. Bury use containers in designated or marked area. And next thing, when it comes to these pesticide containers, you have to always wash them out 3 times and make sure you put them in a safe place and not just wash them and throw them down. Anyone can end up in some waterways at the landfill, and they're not being washed out properly. So you want to wash them out 3 times to make sure they're clean. And then they should be packed in special boxes. But these are next thing, I guess, the agriculture department and the solid waste have to really come and collaborate in something where we got to do a better job when it comes to getting rid of the containers, when it comes to on farm sites and stuff like that. Wash spray clothes separately from other clothes. I mean, wash your farm clothes should be always washed separately from the clothes that you're washing using. You don't go home and take off your farm clothes and throw them in with your church clothes then. Don't make no sense, because you're just contaminating everything. And always wear PPE, your protective personal equipment. When spraying, you have your mask, your glove, your boots. You need your hat and all kind of different stuff. Why PPE? Need for risk assessments. Need to assess the levels of danger associated with any activity. Bathing at a strange beach. I mean, all of these, we're just saying, I mean, if you go to a beach, just know your environment. A restaurant, know if a restaurant might have somebody come spraying pesticides around, they have just anything in general. When you're flying on a plane, involving with air crashes is sending your child to a primary school without adult supervision, dangers of farm, distance from medical care, and medical hotlines and all this stuff. All right, common pesticides in the market. I'm just showing you some different stuff that I sell around here. Basically, pesticides and all these things. So just showing some pesticides the same way, and different fungicides that say within the Federation. Again, just showing some other stuff the same way, and the dangers. If exposed to chemicals, chemicals enter skin, nose, eyes, wash skin with soaps, water, should not feel dizzy, thirsty, nausea, or weakness. If chemical is in your skin, if you start to feel any of these symptoms in the mean, go and check a doctor or something like that, because once you enter your pores, you might start to feel, you shouldn't be feeling any of these symptoms. Then do not spray when tired or fatigued. Have an emergency contact as a doctor or 911 ready at all times on the farm. Chemical drift could reach as far as 7 miles. You see how far, and nowhere near is 7 miles. So I mean, basically, wherever you're spraying some, the chemical drift can reach where you're at. So it just show you the dangers of chemical drift. Well, this basically showing you some of the areas where exposed to chemicals can affect you. Your palms, your genital area, your abdomen, the forearm, your ear canal, the scalp, your forehead, your eye, underneath your feet. So it shows you what things that you should wear and what is not appropriate. All right, here is just showing you, this is a farm where you see a drip line. These are some beds have been plowed, and as I said, they plow the land, which I speak of earlier, so take some pictures which is going around here. So it's actual pictures. With the plow, prepare the land, but then they ain't plant. So what we're talking about, don't plow and then ready to plant, have everything ready to use at the same time. So as you look now, they have to go back and spray with herbicides. Just don't make no sense. All right. Some of the natural control method you could use when it comes to building back the soil and control pests and stuff like that. You have the cowpeas or the pigeon peas. You could to control the weevil for the pigeon peas. You can use custard apple, neem, or Christmas bush. Then you have thrips to control thrips. You can use fresh or red chili peppers. Then you have garlic. And then you have pepper, hot pepper, and you still have Christmas bush again. Then you have damping off, which is a fungus. You have controlled by moringa leaves and garlic, fusarium wilt, controlled by moringa root and celery, fungi, controlled with aloe and garlic. As you see how powerful garlic is to control to all kind of different type of pests and fungus and stuff like that. And root rot, controlled with citronella and eucalyptus. All right. Well, I just put some other websites where you can get some adequate additional information if needed. You have coolfoodscampaign.org, the Taiwan ICDF website, FAO website, CARDI.org, and ICA, and Ministry of Food Production Extension Training. This is a website and information service. It's a PDF. You can get more adequate information off of these websites. Okay, this is a video, but I'm not sure how good you're going to hear the video now. I was just showing when there's a farmer here spraying. I just many of you all could see. You see a farmer there spraying? There's a farmer there with his thing on the back. You all can see it? All right, let me go. It's just to show when you're spraying, and then over in the corner there you see some school children walking, coming down, and the farmer still a spray. You have to be aware of your surroundings. Very important. You understand? If you're going to spray, let your neighbors them know and all this stuff. You playing? Okay. But I will that's basically what we're talking about. There's some school. Okay. By the lamppost, I'm not sure if you all could see? You all could see school children? And you see the drift. Sometimes we do things that know when people are around. So when you spray, you tend to look around just in case, and then you'll just stop and just let it pass. Because these are things, you want to do things a holistic way. When some people see you spraying, they're wondering, well, where are you spraying? And this is not too late in the afternoon either. So you see the farmer and you see school, you see car, vehicle passing, and these are stuff that we got to work in army with each other in a sense in the neighborhood. Next. All right. This is our next one too. You see right here? What you see? All right, you might hear my voice from this talking, eh? I mentioned all the bad practices, and I would have sent him home. Remember I told you earlier, anybody that I see, but I'm not in charge of this estate. And when that particular, and here, the person who's spraying this ain't having no hat, ain't having no goggles, and ain't got no gloves, he just got a respirator. And they're spraying at the same time. Those doing the roads, and this is high day now, at 11 o'clock now. This shouldn't be happening. This ain't supposed to be happening. And that particular person come out inside where the young lady them working in propagation and mix up the chemicals them inside there. Or they send him home for 2 weeks, a month, because I did know better. These are no. But it's all about managing. My managing style is different. Because once you deal with chemicals and people's safety, you have to sign a safety sheet. You have to keep safety meetings. I only know about safety, When I'm in the construction field working, I got all my 10 fingers, toes, everything. Safety is always number one for me, in everything. Because you want to go back home to your family, you don't want time to retire. You end up with all kind of illnesses, and this is a very, very, and when I watch this video, I mean, it'll ache me, because these people know better, yeah? Play that tape again, let me see something there. Why is it going on there? Huh? You walking into the spray? Because the place is, wind is blowing, and at the same time, you can see vehicles passing. They were paving the road up at Prospect in front of the building there, and all them people in public works there working and all that going on upon them. They ain't supposed to be happening. Next. All right. Minimum tillage at Brownhill. This is the actual farm at Brownhill right now. Right now, all those land is covered up. Have small fruits of watermelon that are going to be ready for the middle of Christmas. This is Passard farm. One of the farms, as you see, you never see the beds, right? Minimum tillage. He don't make no beds and all this thing. He just scrape the ground and then plant. So you mean the soil ain't gonna move, gonna away. All the water gonna stay right there and drain easily. We see these melon now. You never see no type of soil. And that's an acre melon right there. And adjacent to it, have a next acre again. And you just continue planting the acre. So in this area here, you have 4,000 plants right there. So you're supposed to get between 15, maybe 20,000 pounds of melon in 3 months, 90 days, easy. Gentleman is not special. Any one of you in here can do it. That's all. When the don't rain, he just got to use some fungicide to control, you know what I mean? This is 1 acre of melon. You can hear it, right? Just an acre, as I said, and all those banana trees they plant around to create windbreak and all this different stuff. That's the farmer right there. 1 acre melon, and that's right. So between now and the end of the year, he might have 3 acres of melon, and continue planting January, and just keep planting different stages. So this is 1 acre of melon plant. So you realize how it is, and it works. Believe me, it works. Next, that's it. Are you ready? I'm sorry, done too quick, just to get warm up. I sincerely apologize for the viewers that the show had ended so quick. If you all want me to continue, go add the next 10 slides, but I got to get you guys home, to your family. You all had been a great, students. So, I have a few gifts here just to say, pull your all memories. Those who could get a little gift to test to take back. You all remember what we said important. What are some of the important why you don't want to degrade the soil? Anyone? Why do you don't want to degrade the soil? Why do you want to protect the soil? Simple questions. 2? 1, 2? But you don't come and bring gifts. You give a lot of gifts, You can't bring 2 gifts up here. 1, 2? We'll have to make up this thing here. All right. Anyone know the answer? What is soil degradation? What is us depleting the soil? Why is it important to protect the soil? One at a time. Najee? 2. All right. That's the answer right there. Miss Huggins? Yes. You don't what? You don't remember? You might Miss Sturge here? Protect the soil fertility. All right, we have 2 easy answers. So what we're going to have to make up something for you guys, because when I start giving out gifts, I just don't want to give 2 gifts. So you all hold me responsible. I'll put the pressure on the director and make sure he find other gifts to mark. I got the paper to give you guys something. All right? But it was great. I'm glad you guys came out, and I'm glad those who take time to view online, I hope they learn any additional information that they know, even if they didn't know before, or they learn something now. And anything, you can just contact the agriculture department myself, any other extension officer, the director, the PS, Mr. Archibald, any one of us, we are easily to talk to and easy to reach, and our job, as I say, is to work with you guys. What time it is now? 8 what? 8:30. I went a half an hour overtime. I said I would get you all here by 8, but it's fine still. I'll hand it over to the chairman. Yeah. Well, it's why you come up for your all thing. Najee and Mr. You all come up and you all get your all. What we have here is the rapid tested kit that we're talking about. Can test for different stuff in the soil.
And you'll be easily purchase it online also. What it does, it tests for pH, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. So you have the 4 kits here. You have the tablet that goes with it. All you do within, there's a pipette. You fill, if you do the nitrogen test, you just fill this section over here with water, preferably distilled water or the water that you drink, fill this. And within this plastic here, you're going to see the tablet that's going to match the color of this. So in this is purple. You have the purple tablet. You open it. You just pour the powder within the same section with the water. You shake it. You allow it for a while. And basically, you're going to get a reading here from 0 up to 4. 0 basically means your soil is depleted. And 4 is that you have a surplus of whatever nutrient it may be. The same thing with the pH. You mix it, you fill it with soil up to here, the level, the instructions is marked. You add the water, you add the tablet to it, and you're going to tell you the soil nutrient. And again, the kit has a capacity of doing up to 40 tests. All right?
So here we're going to start doing some, Mr. John Najee could start doing, before planting, you could start tests for certain nutrients and deficiencies and all that. So this is a start. Hopefully, as I say, I'm going to put the pressure on the director. Because now I don't want to give out GIF live and just give 2. And then I have people viewing and I still have people here sitting down. So we'll make it up for those who are here. We have a sheet with the names and as I said, we'll make it up. I'll pass you guys over to Mr. Frederick, the chairperson.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I just want the audience to give the presenters a round of applause for the good presentation they did. So next up is Mr. Kyron Phillip, Extension Officer, to give the vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank the heads of the department for coming to give the support for this workshop. I'd like to thank the presenters, Mr. Ronald King, Mr. Lindsay Archibald, for giving such a good, informative workshop. I'd like to thank you guys for coming, and the online viewing and the viewing people, audience. Yeah. Thank you guys.
Time to go home now, we're finishing now.